Every now and again, when you watch so much tape, it tends to blend all together and get a little bit redundant. And anybody that watches a lot of film can probably tell you the same thing. But every now and again, something just jumps out and makes you say, wow. And that's what happened when I started watching Jordan Phillips. But here we go. Yo, 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 no maniacs, super no maniacs, and all in between. Welcome to another edition of Feed the Bears, where we do our part over here to feed the Chicago Bears fans all the content that we can give you. But listen, let me get right on into it. Recently we did a show, I think it was Friday, and we broke down some players over on that show, and Jordan Phillips was one, defensive tackle out of Maryland. And, I gave him, I don't know how long of a little segment to talk about him. And if you saw that show, you could tell how excited I was when I described, his traits and things about him. And I just know for a fact that wasn't enough. That was not enough. And so I had to stop on this nice Sunday morning and make sure you guys get me in my moment and kind of give you a little bit more information on this kid, man. This defensive tackle out of Maryland, Jordan Phillips, is 6'2", 6'3", 320 pounds, full of just raw, unadulterated power. I mean, it is strange and freakish. Somebody said to me, somebody sent me a message on Twitter or something, told me that he made the Bruce Feldman's freaks list. Something I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to. Guess it's a nice little, notch under your belt, I guess. But that's just, listen, let me tell you something. This kid is a sophomore, and he's getting ready to enter the NFL draft at 20 years old. Hasn't played as much football as you would want a defensive tackle to play. I'm not one that really believes that you need to stay in college for 2, 3, 4 years in order to be NFL ready. This kid right here is one of those cases where he was just born to play football. This dude is so freaking twitchy, powerful. I mean, the power is overwhelming. Like watching him on film, and the best game that I seen him play was against Iowa. And if you know anything about Iowa and Big Ten football, typically those are where you're going to find your more stout opponents along the offensive line. And you're going to run into pretty much an offensive line if you're playing in the Big Ten every week. There's going to be a really stout, group. And it was a game against Iowa where I watched this kid there is no such thing. And I believe this 110% in my heart. On the next level, I don't know that there's a center guard in the league. There may be a guard maybe that can match power for power with this kid, but I don't know that there's a center in football right now in the NFL that can hold him one-on-one. I don't think there's a center in the National Football League that can hold him one-on-one. Anytime I've seen it on tape where a center tried to play him one-on-one, he's got a powerful, and I mean, when I say powerful, people might say, how is a swim over move powerful? Somehow it is with his heavy hands and strength, the way he swims over and kind of discards a player, it is impressive. It is impressive. I've seen time and time again, and you guys will too when you go look at the film. I don't care if you look at the whole games. Just go look at the highlights. And if that satisfies your curiosity, it's fine with me. Just go watch. And tell me how many times you saw someone one-on-one block this kid and sustain a block on this kid. I haven't seen it done. If you try to block this kid one-on-one, he's just going to leave bodies in his path. Just straight bodies. It's almost embarrassing watching football players try to block this kid one-on-one. He will just completely destroy and waste him. There's no such thing. This guy is going to demand a double team. Because if you don't, he is just going to continually disrupt and tear up your format. That's what it is. I mean, he is so impressive. And the fact that he's only 20 years old, I think I might have read somewhere where they're projecting him to go in the 4th round. I really don't pay a whole lot of attention to, draft projections because they just come from simulators and people's commentary for the most part. It's just Nothing for me in that. You know what I mean? I don't like projecting where they might go because I never know. We never know. Nobody does. It's just what you just assume will happen with this kid in the draft. I know right now there's defensive coordinators, D-line coaches that are going over defensive tackles film. And when they've gotten to this kid right here, if they have any, if there's a salt of credibility to their positions in the NFL and doing what they do professionally, they've got to have this guy right there at the top of the list. Now he is raw. He is raw he's what you would expect a sophomore at 20 years old to be as a college player. He's raw. And that's not, to me, that's not a deterrent. To me, that's not a deterrent. There's a coach out there, or coaches out there that are going to see exactly what this kid is. And he is a stud. A stud. This guy is like Jalen Carter, is when you start talking about recent D tackles that came out, and what they are in the NFL. Everybody touts Jalen Carter as one of the best ones. And I don't argue with that. But what Jalen Carter is tools wise versus this kid right here, Jordan Phillips, is not really different. Jalen Carter wins with power, thrust, and just straight, stacking and shedding blockers, a swim over technique. This guy has everything Jalen Carter had coming out of college. Everything. Jalen Carter is not a toolsy defensive tackle. He's just powerful and very strong. This guy is stronger naturally. You're looking at him right now on the screen, looking at this graphic, and there's really no fat to him. At 300 pounds and be that strong, the kid is he's got a wrestling background. He's a state qualifier in wrestling in high school, and he's his weightlifting, man. And I'll say this too. I never really pay attention to how much somebody lifts. I've been around big players that lift a whole lot of weights and are very, very strong. And when they got on the field, it didn't translate. And so I wouldn't really necessarily pay attention to how much somebody lifts. So by the way, he power cleans 365 pounds. Anybody knows what that is when the player reaches to the ground, snatches the weights up and puts them over his head. That's a power clean. And he squats 665 pounds. And ordinarily, I'd be like, yeah, okay, no, man, what else? But when you see him play on film, it definitely translates. I mean, you see, it's like this. You will find out on film when you watch him. When he engages in a guy, if it's a one-on-one and he decides that he's going to just beat this guy with power, he's like a fork truck. He just lifts guys and just basically it is embarrassing. It's to see people try to guard him one-on-one and what he does to him. It is totally embarrassing. It's like you can't be another 300-plus pound football player and get used and abused like that. But you see it consistently. One-on-one, he is just a locomotive and ain't nothing you can do about it. His play strength, absolutely astounding. I don't know that I've seen a football player in a long time play with this kind of play strength. The person that comes to mind when I look at tapes, is old stuff, I think about Reggie White. Guys like that just had phenomenal strength for no reason. This guy is going to be an absolute phenomenon on the next level. I'm telling you that right now. And there's a couple other things about him too. And for a guy that big, you really wouldn't expect him to be a person that you would consider nimble. But he is every bit of it. Feet like a cat, quickness, burst, exceptional. He can win just shooting the gap and getting around you, or he can just be the power lord and just dominate you physically. You see it all. And so, naturally people are going to project him at 320 pounds to be a nose tackle. But I definitely 110% believe that's the floor for him. That's the floor. That's like, yeah, he's going to play nose tackle. Yes. Can he play three tech and other techniques along the defensive line? There's nothing I don't think this kid can do. With that burst, that power, that strength, and his pad level was always low. And so he's constantly having that wrestling background. He constantly wins the leverage battle, the low pad level, and getting engaged with his hands and winning in that way, keeping his hands on the inside and winning that leverage battle. There's no throwing him around, especially not one-on-one. There may be a guard tackle combo in the league that can, move him, you know what I mean? But it's going to take a strong duo, a really strong duo, because the average ones, then he's going to be able to hold the ground, sit down, and anchor. I'm telling you, right away, I've seen the tape. Sometimes, I tell people this all the time. Somebody asked me, one time somebody actually did ask me, hey, no man, what I want to start studying tape. What should I do? I tell people, first thing you do is just turn down the volume. Just turn the volume off and just see what your eyes tell you. And sometimes doing that's very helpful, especially when it comes to a kid like this, because when you're watching all 22 film, it gets, I guess, in my mind, it gets a little bit blurry. But I turn the volume off and I just see what pops out at me. And that's kind of how I do it. I love doing it. You know what I mean? When this guy came up, I had the volume completely down and off, and I just kept watching. I was like, hold on, man, who is this kid? And so I found out who he was, looked up his measurements and look at his stats. The stats really won't tell you anything either. So I caution that to people all the time. Don't go straight to metrics and analytics and things like that to tell you who this kid is and who this football player is. It really can't really. You're never going to see what you need to see or know what you need to know about a football player by just looking at somebody's metrics. PFF's great site. All those publications that do all those analytics and these metrics, that's great. But I'm telling you, there is no true thing next to actually watching film. There's no other true thing next to it. You got to watch the film if you want to have a complete estimation of what a football player is. And if you don't watch this kid's tape and you go straight to the analytics and metrics and see what the box tells you in the box measurements, you're going to be like, okay, he's just a regular defensive tackle. No. Go watch the film, y'all. Please go watch the film on Jordan Phillips. And I'm telling you right now, and I'm projecting it right now, and I'm going to put myself on record. I really don't like doing this kind of stuff, but this is how sure I feel about this football player. I believe 110% out of this class, this is going to be the steal of the draft. And I'll stand on it. You can hold me to account on it. It might not happen in a year, might not, whatever. I'm telling you right now, this guy he's a man amongst boys, and he's going to be a man amongst boys when he gets to the NFL. His strength and power is just unmatched. I don't know if I've seen a kid this strong and powerful and well put together and built the way he is and actually know how to use it. That wrestling background is going to pay real dividends for him, because that's going to be, half the battle, winning the point of attack and having leverage to be able to make plays. That's what every defensive coordinator is looking for. Defensive tackles that can do that consistently. And he will. Guaranteed. But that's what I got on Jordan Phillips. I just want to be, as a Chicago Bears fan, sitting at a point when this draft comes around and they have an opportunity to get this kid and he lands as a Chicago Bear. I'm telling you, I'm going to be so over the moon. I'm going to be hard to contain, y'all. I'm going to be a problem if this guy ends up in Chicago. I'm telling y'all right now, Nomad is going to be a problem if Jordan Phillips ends up being a Chicago Bear. But we got a couple months now until that happens, so we will see, man. But all I know is this dude is going to be measured for a long time from now. He's going to kind of be the standard, I believe. I'm telling you. So that's my projection on Jordan Phillips, man. You guys make sure you go check him out. And don't forget, tonight we got Nomad at Night. We got my boy Nick is coming back on screen. One of the No Maniacs. He was here for I think the draft coverage we did. I think he was there for that, man. I haven't talked to him in a while, so it's going to be fun talking to him. Don't forget that's at 8 p.m. Central tonight. And you guys that are really enjoying this content and you want to see us crank more and more of it out, make sure you hit the subscribe button and show us some support. That's all we ask for. It's penniless. Don't cost you anything. Doesn't hurt. Doesn't make you bleed. Just hit the subscribe button. We're going to keep on cranking out more and more content. But that's what I got for this one, man. You guys have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you guys tonight on Nomad at Night. But I'll leave you guys with these famous words. If you can think it and you can see it, there's no reason in the world why you cannot absolutely manifest it. Do not, and I repeat, do not be a prisoner of your own mind. But with that being said, I am